Hey, we in a new series, y'all. Today we are going to talk about the 5 pillars of a healthy relationship. Go ahead and cue my theme music. Welcome to Untoxify Your relationship. Here we will talk about all things healthy and how to get that toxic mess out of you and your partnership. I'm your host, Melissa Webb, a practicing licensed mental health therapist with 10 years experience. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it. Like I said in my intro, we are starting a new series. So I be having trouble coming up with what to talk about on the show. And I'm like, Melissa, just do what the preachers do. Pick a theme and preach from it. I'm not preaching, but we're definitely picking a theme and we're taking from this theme and we're going to talk about all things. So in this series, we're going to talk about how to untoxify all types of relationships. I talk a lot about romantic relationships on the show. So right now it's time to branch out and talk about all these other relationships. So today we are setting up the series to see what's in store as we explore these other relationships. So the relationships that we're going to explore are parenting, co-parenting relationship, aging parents, because my mom is definitely a boomer about to turn 70, and baby, sometimes it's like arguing with my 3-year-old. Parent-child relationship, employment, like your coworkers and your boss, because baby, we've all had toxic jobs where we like, who Jesus, take the wheel before I do, right? We're going to talk about friendships and church relationships, because what I have seen is a lot of times people do things in their church relationships. They won't necessarily do those things with the worldly relationships, or they will just be like, oh my God, my pastor is like the end all be all, and God should really be your end all be all, and that's how y'all be ending up in these church hurt situations. Yeah, we gonna talk about it because I have never talked about that on the show, and we gonna do it. But today we're gonna set the scene, and I'm gonna this is like the intro series podcast episode. So in each relationship, I'm going to discuss the 5 pillars you have to make it healthy. All right. So today we're going to talk about the 5 pillars in a healthy relationship. Let's go ahead and hop right on into it. So the 5 pillars are, because I'm going to give them to you in the beginning. So that way, if you want to listen, you can. If you don't, you can go away. But I'm sure y'all going to want to listen to why these are the 5 healthy pillars. The 5 healthy pillars are 1, boundaries, 2, self-awareness, 3, healthy communication, 4, realistic expectations, and 5, mutual respect and trust. The pillars are important because when I think of pillars, I think of a house. The pillars literally holding up a house. You had a foundation, of course, and then you put these pillars on the foundation and it literally holds the house up. If one of your pillars are all types of jacked up, cracked, it's faulty, your whole house can cave in. Back in the day, I would watch HGTV and they were always talking about the load bearing wall, which I thought they was always saying load bearing. I was like, what's a load bearing wall? So forgive me, y'all. But that load bearing wall is that wall that literally holds up the house. If you take that wall down, the whole house is coming down. That's kind of like how I see pillars, right? When the load bearing wall or the load bearing pillars are all types of jacked up, then it's really impossible to have a healthy relationship. So we're going to see what healthy pillars look like, and we're going to see what not so healthy pillars look like, and then I'm gonna throw a little twist in at the end. So the first pillar we're going to talk about is boundaries, and boundaries are healthy limits for a safe and nurturing connection. Well, establishing healthy limits for a safe and nurturing connection. You know, I like to tell people, no boundaries, no peace. It's a Black therapist named Nedra. She has a book called Find Boundaries, Find Peace. And I always tell people, when you don't have boundaries, you don't have peace. Because boundaries put your needs right front and center. When you want to tell someone like, hey, I don't like it when you do XYZ. Can you not do that? That's a boundary, right? When you tell somebody no, that's a boundary. So you're putting your needs front and center when you set boundaries. When we talk about boundaries, because a lot of times people don't understand boundaries, so I like to explain it this way. Boundaries are like a fence. Think of your backyard. Think of the fence that goes around your backyard. It keeps it private, right? So think you're having a dinner party in the backyard. You can invite anybody you want to, and you can keep people out that you don't want in there. So the people that you invite in are the people who respect your boundaries, they respect your needs, they respect your wants, and you like, you know what, you cool peoples, you can go ahead and come in. The people who disrespect your boundaries, disrespect your needs, they are the ones who stay outside of the fence. And you know what, to be honest, if someone outside the fence want to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and respect you, by all means, you can let them in to your private area, aka your backyard. If someone inside the dinner party decides to disrespect your dog, let's say they kick your dog, or they mess up, break a window or whatever, right? You can kick them out of the backyard, which means that you can put them outside because they're disrespecting your boundaries. So your boundaries, your fence, however, should be not a wall, right? We want to be able to let people in and out. We want to be able to let people in and out. And I think that's where people get stuck, because a lot of times people make boundaries walls. And when you make a boundary a wall, you put yourself on an island. I always like to say a wall is like a wall around a castle, and then around the wall around the castle is a moat, and then it's like a drawbridge, and then it's like a dragon that's like protecting the drawbridge, right? It's very protective, and it's really hard to let people in and out when you have that much distance between your walled building and like the actual people across the moat, right? It's hard for people to connect with you when you put up walls, and then you end up being like, well, I ain't got no friends. I wonder why. You got a dragon, a drawbridge, and a moat with alligators and snakes, poisonous snakes in there. Ain't nobody trying to come over there. I'm gonna go right on over here to this backyard where it's easier and people are flexible with what's going on, and that's not to say like everybody who breaks your boundary always deserve a chance to come back. It depends on what they breaking, right? It depends on what they're disrespecting, and so I think that is a personal decision. However, I think we do need to communicate with the other person of how we're feeling and what it is that we need, because if the other person doesn't know, then they're going to always walk over your boundaries. And it also breeds resentment and burnout, because if you're always going and doing because you don't say no, that's going to breed burnout. And it's also going to give out resentment, because if someone keeps disrespecting your boundaries and disrespecting your needs, you're going to start to resent them, because it's like, they don't respect me, so now I'm mad, when in actuality you never communicated your needs. When your boundary pillar is not in its best condition, right? We need to go ahead and reevaluate, like, what are we doing? Are we really communicating our needs? Are we assuming that people know what our needs are? Number 2, self-awareness. This is you understanding your emotions and needs to contribute positively to the relationship. When your pillar is jacked up when it comes to self-awareness, that equals repeated toxic patterns. So an example would be, if you're not aware of your past trauma and how that is affecting you in your current relationships, that means that can lead to blame, projection, misunderstanding, and emotional disconnect. So, for example, let's say you had some childhood trauma. Okay, cool. Sorry that happened to you. But then in your current relationships, you start acting out in your childhood trauma. So let's say it was a woman who did some egregious things to you. So now when you get older, you treat all women like crap because of this one person who did something in your childhood. I'm trying to tell you, go get healed, because what ends up happening is you start projecting your stuff on people. I call it literally vomiting on people who literally did nothing wrong to you, and all they're trying to do is help you, and all you do is word vomit because you feel some type of way because you haven't healed yourself. Go heal yourself before you get in anybody's relationship. Heal yourself before you get in a friendship, okay? Because you can mess over really good people all because you chose not to go get healed, or you chose not to go to therapy, or you chose to ignore the things that happened to you and acting like nothing ever happened, when multiple people are saying like, you know what, you may want to go to therapy, but yet you like, ain't nothing wrong with me, something wrong with them. Nah, it's you. issue. So that's where we get that blaming. That's where we get the projection. That's where we get misunderstandings, because you're not hearing people with healed ears. You're hearing people with traumatic ears. Like everything goes through this traumatic filter of what happened to you in your childhood, and all these other people got to pay, and you decided not to go get healed. None of that was in my notes, so that was for someone. That was for someone. All right. So in other words, go get healed, y'all. Go get healed. Again, Purposeful Counseling is a therapy practice located right here in St. Louis, Missouri. And, we see couples and individuals in the states of Missouri and Illinois, and coming soon, Georgia and Texas. So be on the lookout for us. Number 3, healthy communication. We like to have hot combos. I think, Pastor Mike Todd says that at his church, hot combos, which are honest, open, and transparent conversations. If y'all know what honesty is, that's just being truthful and not lying. Openness is being receptive of communication, feedback, and a different point of view. So it's like really how you engage in the conversation. Are you listening? Are you being like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Okay, that's cool. Like, that's being open. And transparent is basically vulnerability. So it's sharing info without hiding anything. A lot of times y'all out here talking about, I'm transparent, and you holding in all types of stuff. That's not transparency. That's withholding information, especially if it's important information that someone needs to know, and you decide not to tell nobody. Like my homeboy off of Love Is Blind, who got all these kids, and they just got divorced. And then he had all these kids and didn't say nothing. Ashley and that boy, I can't think of his name. You need all 3: honest, open, and transparency to have a healthy dialogue with someone. When you have trash communication, when that pillar is jacked up because you got trash communication, that will equal frequent arguments and the inability to resolve issues, because what you gonna keep doing is getting defensive, blaming, and doing the things that are not healthy when it comes to conflict resolution. And you're gonna find yourself in these cycles of always having not so healthy conversations and these arguments all the time. I like when I talk to couples, like, we argue all the time. I'm like, so who can't communicate? It's probably both of y'all. So let's work on that. Let's heal our communication. Okay. Number 4, realistic expectations. So realistic expectations are achievable goals, and it maintains a grounded perspective. When that pillar is cracked and needs some help, that looks like unrealistic expectations, which equals unmet needs, constant disappointment, and pressure that strains the relationship. This can look different in a lot of different ways, but what I see it most, and this can be, again, I'm only seeing this a lot with women, not to say men don't do this, but again, I talk to a lot of women, is potential. When someone falls in love with someone's potential, what that really is you low-key, you expect them to do the things that they need to do for them to fulfill the potential that you see in them, right? So for example, let's say someone has the potential to be an entrepreneur and make a lot of money. Like I said, low-key, you expect them to do the things that will make them a millionaire. And when you don't see those things, your face is cracked. Your face is cracked, right? Because you sort of like, you need to be up here doing a millionaire. You need to be a millionaire. You need to be making this money. And they like, I don't want that for myself. I really just want to be a janitor, right? I actually said this on one of my TikTok videos. Like, you fall in love with potential is jacking y'all up because you have these unrealistic expectations for someone and you put them on them. And they just like, I'm just trying to live my life being a janitor. Why do you want me to be a millionaire? I don't want that, right? So be careful when you fall in love with potential. Be careful with that, because at the end of the day, you're literally putting an expectation on someone. Now, if someone you see the potential and they're doing the things to get them to where they need to be, that's different. But when you see the potential and they not doing it, and then now you try to do the things for them so that way they can be that person, yeah, let that go. Let it go. Like my girl off of Frozen. All right, and lastly, but not least, number 5. Mutual respect and trust. This means that both partners feel valued and supported. When there is no mutual respect or trust, that pillar is jacked up, and that will equal insecurity and emotional distance. This makes the relationship unstable, filled with doubt, and can cause jealousy or even control issues. When there's no respect, when there's no trust, why are we even doing it, right? Like, you have to respect each other and you have to trust each other in order for any relationship to work, whether it's friendship, romantic relationship, even in your work environment, right? You have to respect your boss and your coworkers, and you have to trust your boss and your coworkers in order for you to do the work that you need to do, right? And so when that's not there, it causes a whole ruckus of everything. And so I think for this one, like, I see a lot of people saying I don't trust them, but yet they still in a relationship. I'm like, why are we still here? Like, what's gonna make, like, what are we doing, right? So just make sure that if that there's trust and respect. If there's no trust and respect, I just say get out. So how do we get toxic relationships? Well, even if one of your even if one of the pillars in a relationship is cracked, your relationship is going to be toxic. So if you don't have mutual respect or trust for each other, your relationship is toxic. If you don't know how to have healthy communication, y'all always arguing and fighting, your relationship is toxic. If you have poor boundaries, you become a people pleaser, and then your relationship is toxic. So anytime any one of these pillars are cracked, your relationship can become toxic. Now, something that I see when it comes to all 5 of these pillars is that usually if one of your pillars in your relationship is jacked up, most of the time it might have something to do with you and your 5 pillars that you have for yourself. Because what I noticed is, yeah, it's easy to blame the other person, but when someone puts the mirror up in front of you, can you say like, oh snap, yeah, one of my pillars are jacked up. So this is what it looks like for yourself if you have jacked up pillars. So number 1, poor boundaries with yourself. That means your needs are not being met. And that will breed people pleasing and burnout, because we know when we always go for other people and we're not filling our cup, that's burnout, because we're people pleasing, and then that becomes breeds anxiety and frustration and even resentment, right? When you're doing all these things for other people and they don't do anything for you, but yet you have poor boundaries, and that's why that's happening. Number 2, when you don't have any self-awareness, you repeat unhealthy cycles and you have really low emotional intelligence, and you fail to recognize your own patterns, which means that you keep getting these toxic relationships and you like, well, I don't know why I'm doing it. Have you checked with yourself and see what's going on with you? Maybe that's the first place you should probably check. Number 3, when you have poor communication, I usually look at it as, if you can't have hot combos with yourself, then how the hell are you going to have hot combos with someone else? Even when you do have hot conversations with someone else, you shut down and you become defensive. So you can't even get through a tough conversation because you don't know how to communicate, because 1, you're not self-aware of what's going on, and then 2, you're not open to even receive someone else's dialogue because you're so stuck on what's going on with you and how you feel, and you don't really care about how the other person feel. Number 4, when you have unrealistic expectations, you hold yourself to impossible standards or feel like nothing is good enough. I call this the perfectionist. You want everything to be perfect, and when it's not, you don't feel good enough about anything, right? It's like, well, I'm not good enough because I didn't do great on this test, right? And it's like, yeah, bring it back. That's not necessarily true. It just means that let's just study harder, let's work harder on that, right? So when you have unrealistic expectations for yourself, of course you're going to put unrealistic expectations on your partner or your friendships or whatever, and then that's going to breed some resentment because you're going to always be disappointed in your relationships. But again, it starts with you. What's the unrealistic expectation you have for yourself? And then let's fix that before we start trying to fix other people. And then lastly, number 5, when you have a lack of mutual respect or trust with yourself, it breeds insecurity and you are constantly in toxic relationships. That's because you're going to tolerate disrespect, low self-esteem, or you enter or stay in broken relationships. Because at that point, you are insecure about who you are and you would just accept anything. Yeah, this was me. Like, I was insecure about me. I thought that I couldn't get anybody. So anybody who showed me attention, I was like, all right, cool, let's go. What we talking about? And they were not really good partners for me. So I get it. I understand. And you got to fix that, right? So I think fixing your own pillars, it starts with going to therapy. It starts with wise counsel. It starts with really being like Michael Jackson. I'm talking to the man in the mirror, because you have to put that mirror up to yourself to really figure out who you are and how you operate. And it's hard, it's tough, it's scary, right? And it's so rewarding when you come out on top and you're able to see like, oh yeah, let me work on me. And then once you start working on you, you start seeing all the foolishness that you was around. You like, baby, why was I doing this stupid stuff? And I think that's growth. That is growth, and I love it. I love when clients see that. And that's really why I do this work, because at the end of the day, I want everybody to have healthy relationships. I want everybody to have not only a healthy relationship with others, but healthy relationships with yourself, because it really starts with you, right? If you are able to have a healthy relationship with you, then yes, you will be able to have healthy relationships with others, no matter how they act, because you'll be able to put in boundaries. You'll be able to have healthy conversations. They may get on your nerves. Okay, cool. However, if you do have to deal with someone who's not healthy, you will learn the ways of how to do that. And also, pray to Jesus. Ask him to give you wisdom and self-control and those fruits of the spirits to help you deal with these type of people. And so, yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. So this is the kick off our series. I don't know what we talking about next week. I ain't got that far. But just know this is the kick off the series, and this is just laying the groundwork for what we're going to talk about moving forward. So I hope y'all continue to join me on this series of Untoxify Your blank relationship, because we're going all in on all these relationships. So yeah, that's it. That is the post. Thank you for listening. Episodes drop every Monday. At least I'm trying to get them out every Monday. It's been a little crazy on my end, so I'm trying to get them out on Mondays. If not, it's always Tuesday. As always, tell your auntie, uncle, and cousin and them about the show. Shout out to my listeners, because I don't know who be out here listening to my whole catalog, but baby, much love to you, whoever is listening to the episodes. I've been having a lot of downloads lately, and I wholeheartedly appreciate everybody listening and the message getting out there to people to have healthier relationships with themselves and with others. Stay classy, y'all. Stay non-toxic, and I will see you next time. Peace. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and share this episode with your family and friends. Thank you, and see you next time.